This
Well,
should be fun tonight, though.
why is that?
I just to see the complete picture is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. That's right, because you won't have seen it yet.
No, I have not seen it.
I keep forgetting that. It's nice to have fresh eyes on it. All right, let's do it. Welcome back, everybody, to the next edition of AFL Team Selection. And I say the next edition, it is the final edition because we are going to reveal the final 6 teams tonight. We still have to go through the NFC North and the AFC North. Both North divisions are sitting out there. We do know the Magic is in Pittsburgh. We do know that I am in Minnesota. And most people feel pretty good about the fact that Bailey is going to be in Detroit. We'll see if that comes true. And after that, we're going to find out who the other 5 teams are and if Bailey is in Detroit. So, guys, we have JD on with us tonight. How's it going, JD?
What's up?
Stokes is back with us again tonight. What's up, Stokes?
Phew.
And RVD's with us tonight. How's it going, RVD? RVD's not with us. Hope it's going well, RVD. He warned us he might have some tech issues, so I'm going to just double-check Skype here because I show that he's still in there. He might pop in here from time to time, but for now, we're just going to keep rolling, and we're going to start off with the NFC North, and that is, if I can get my mouse to work right, the Vikings, Packers, Bears, and Lions. And the one team we do know is the Vikings, and that is me. We talked about that on the very first show. Best players, Anthony Barr, Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith, another fast linebacker, Brandon Watts. We went into detail about this team a lot on the first show. I think this team's a good fit for what I like to do. Let's find out who else is going to be in my division. Well, the speculation was true. Bailey does get the Detroit Lions. That means that they were going to Joker. They swapped lists. Their gamble pays off. And Bailey gets his real-life favorite team. Now, a lot of people look at the Lions this year as a bottom-level team because of the retirement of Calvin Johnson, and I didn't see it that way, guys. They have a lot of talent on defense. Ezekiel Ansah is one of the best young defensive linemen in the game. Matthew Stafford still has a cannon for an arm and is young enough to get you through the first 5 or 6 years of a franchise. Darius Slay is one of the best young cornerbacks in the game. They have Haloti Ngata on that defensive line. They have another good young defensive end. I love their linebacker core with DeAndre Levy. They picked up Xavier Gooden this offseason. The offense does need work. I mean, they have Eric Ebron. They have Amir Abdullah, who's nothing special at all. But, Golden...
Hey, you went to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Do they have any kind of line?
I feel like they've drafted some first-round linemen the last couple of years. Riley Reef, I don't know if he's really developed into anything too spectacular. They drafted a guard 2 years ago, and I can't remember his name, but he was a guy I was hoping the Bills would take in the second round. I think their line is decent. They have a really good guard. I can't think of his name. I think their line is actually pretty decent.
Larry Warford.
There you go. But
That's right.
Overall, I don't think this is as bad of a landing spot as people think. They just don't have that cheat code wide receiver. But need a running back, need another offensive weapon. But the cupboard's not bare. What do you guys think about the Lions?
Go ahead, JD.
So, well, I mean, I think they're okay, but I think a lot of the pieces they have are getting kind of aged. I mean, how old is Stafford going to be? I don't think he's going to be somebody you can upgrade to. He's a decent linebacker, but he's getting up there too. Isn't he like 29, 30? So you're going to have to replace a lot of pieces.
I show Stafford as being 28 years old. That's in a magazine I'm looking at, so I don't know when his birthday lines up, if that means he could be 29 when season starts. I did want to mention another good defensive lineman they have is Devin Taylor. He's 6'7", 275, also has really good speed and had a good year last year. He's going to rate out probably overall in the mid-80s. So, again, they have decent talent. It's not great, but it's not a total rebuild situation. Like JD said, Stafford is in his late 20s, so at some point you're going to have to go to the backup plan, but for now you should be good at least at the quarterback position. So Bailey and myself in the NFC North, 2 former Super Bowl champions. I know you guys know Bailey won a Super Bowl. I don't know if I've mentioned that I've won 2.
Have you?
I have, actually.
Oh.
Let's go to the third team now.
Congratulations.
In the NFC North, and I think JD's going to like this. When he called this on the last show, said he wanted to see it happen. Cheese Jr. goes to the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers are a team that is ready to roll on offense. Aaron Rodgers is, how old is he now? He's got to be 31. I don't have their page open on this book, but Clay Matthews on defense is still a beast. Jordy Nelson's coming off of the injury, but should rate out around 90 speed, catches everything in his range. You know about Randall Cobb. Jeff Janis, I think, is a guy that's going to be around 92, 93 speed with the increased speed this year. They picked up Jared Cook from the Rams. He should rate out around 86 speed. The hidden gem on this team, in my opinion, is Brett Hundley, the backup quarterback, because if you decide you want to trade Aaron Rodgers for a king's ransom, you can do that, or you can trade Brett Hundley for a decent return. Stokes, what do you think of the Packers?
I think it really is going to hinge on how the regression system works. I think the Packers are one of the older teams, and Jordy Nelson is going to be 31 on the game. And, the way they nerfed, wide receivers in the past, man, he could be, 75 speed, in season 2. And Clay Matthews is going to be 30. So, a lot of their key players are going to be on the wrong side of 30. They do have some young guys, Cobb, Clinton Dix, Morgan Burnett, Sam Shields still, or is he gone already?
No, Shields is still there.
Okay, so they have a lot of pieces for if you're going to make a run in the first or second season, but I think that you are going to have to make some moves. One of their linebackers that I do like and have liked in past men was Nick Perry. He had high speed and high strength, so he was pretty versatile as far as pass rusher goes. And I like the Packers. I think they're probably I would say they're the second best team in the North for year one. But after that,
yeah, I mean, I know Jordy's getting old, but don't they have other receivers coming right behind him? Adams,
Cobb. They have
Cobb, Adams. Yeah,
I think Janis might be the guy that excites people from a Madden standpoint. 6'3", runs a sub 4.4. He had a big catch in the playoff game. Maybe they give him some low 80s catching, and maybe he's a guy that can be almost like a poor man's Martavis Bryant. I don't know what kind of jump he has, but Aaron Rodgers can make every throw in the game, so receivers don't have to be as open as for other quarterbacks. But I think the Packers are an underrated team. They don't have a running back that excites anybody. Like Stokes said, the problem with this team is, on the surface, there's just not a lot of young talent that really excites you. And that's the first thing a lot of people look for when they get into a franchise. I mean, Clinton Dix to me he's a solid safety. He's not anybody I would be super excited about. Randall Cobb, again, solid receiver. He's going to catch everything, runs great routes, but he doesn't have elite speed or elite size. It's kind of like the Spurs in basketball, or even like the Cardinals in baseball. It's like a team that's consistently good, but there's never really anything sexy about them. It's just they just always win, but there's nothing that like jumps off the page outside, obviously, of the outstanding quarterback. So that's 3 teams in the NFC North. Let's move on and find out who's going to be in the Windy City. And the answer to that question is, whoa, it'd be nice if I was on the right tab here. The answer to that question is Swag. And Swag had the Bears high on his list, and he comes stock loaded with 2 bookend wide receivers, Alshon Jeffrey and Kevin White. He has one of the better young cornerbacks in the game in Kyle Fuller. Hidden gem on this team's Cornelius Washington. Now, Jay Cutler could be a problem, still has a cannon for an arm, not the most accurate guy, and he's getting a little bit older. Defensively, there's some nice players on this team, though. Parnell McPhee came out as one of the top 5 defensive ends in the game. That kind of surprised a lot of people, but when you get somebody on that level, he's going to be a playmaker for you. And then the kid they drafted in the first round of the draft, he actually got hurt today in practice, but their outside linebacker, and I'm having trouble thinking of his name off the top of my head.
Floyd.
Floyd?
Yeah, Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd. He was one of the faster linebackers in the draft, also has some pass rush capability. So the Bears are getting better, and Kevin White being there with Alshon Jeffrey, and then also have Jeremy Langford, who's going to be a 90-plus speed running back. This isn't a terrible team.
Leonard Floyd, the good old Bulldog.
JD's guy. Apparently he just was sick today, so nothing to be too worried about as far as his availability goes going forward. I'm just looking over their depth chart now. They got Danny Trevathan. He's not bad, I guess. Offensive line, Nino told me their offensive line's terrible. I thought Chris Long's brother was actually a good offensive lineman, but Madden-wise, he doesn't rate out very well at all. Zach Miller's kind of a
they moved him out to tackle. That's why his ratings changed. He was a Pro Bowler two years in a row at guard.
Yeah, his isn't it? It's one of the other passer run. I can't remember, but one of them is in the 70s. I can't remember which one it is. He was on the Falcons last year. That's why I know that.
No, Kyle Long.
Oh, you're talking about Kyle Long.
Yeah,
okay.
Kyle Long.
You're not Jake.
All right, guys. Well, let's review real quick the AFC North. You have Bailey, myself, Cheese Jr., and Swag. Just real quick, what are your thoughts on that division, JD?
Hey, it's gonna be an interesting battle. Cheese Jr. came on strong last year. Swag could turn it around. You never know. It's been a while, I hear, since he was really good. And then you and Bailey are both quality players. I mean, this could turn out to be a really strong division.
All right. Well, that's one division down, one to go for tonight. Let's turn our attention now to the AFC North, and that is the Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, and Browns. The one team we already know is the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people would call this the best team in Madden to start with, maybe 1A, 1B with the Seahawks. And Magic got them before we even had lists turned in. Best wide receiver core in the game with Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant. The best running back according to EA's ratings with Le'Veon Bell. Hidden gem, Travis Feeney is going to be a 90-speed linebacker. We went over this roster in depth on the original show, and Magic is going to have this team going 2-14 every season.
What a travesty! But do you know how loaded this roster is going to be after he gets the first pick about 3 or 4 years in a row?
That's true. But Antonio Brown will be 75 overall because he doesn't. Well, actually, Magic's kind of a pass spammer. It might be Le'Veon Bell who never progresses under Magic.
I hope he trades him to me. I hope he trades him.
Yeah, it's true. Stokes needs Le'Veon Bell. That'd be great for AFL. All right, well, Magic is the Steelers. Let's find out who his division rivals are. In Baltimore, Luka. And Luka had this team pretty high on his list, and I think Stokes, if I remember correctly, he may have been the only person with the Ravens on his list.
I think so. That surprised me because I figured, people might have wanted to target Magic as far as being in his division, but I was surprised that not more people put more of the Ravens on there. I wasn't surprised by the lack of Browns, but the Ravens, I thought they were good, decent.
The thing about the Ravens is they're a team that up until last year was a perennial playoff contender, usually makes deep playoff runs. They had what many considered to be a decent young quarterback in Joe Flacco, who all of a sudden you look up now and he's 31 years old. They had the bookend cornerbacks in Smith and Webb, who all of a sudden you look up now and they're both approaching 30 or on the wrong side of 30. Terrell Suggs is now on the twilight of his career. This team just got old quick, and really when you look at it, they have Brashad Perryman, who obviously is a Madden stud. I mean, 97 speed, if they still give him that this year, it's going to be a headache. But I don't expect Mike Wallace to be a real big deep threat coming off of his last 2 seasons. Steve Smith Sr. is one of my favorite all-time NFL players, but never really a great Madden player. None of the running backs on this roster excite me. I do like C.J. Mosley quite a bit, but overall, guys,
it's a depleted roster, man.
Yeah, I mean, I had to. Two-Ton brought it up in chat. I was at work today trying to find a hidden gem on this roster, and at one point I was just like, Correa looks good. I heard good things about him going into the draft. So, I don't know. Stokes, they have elite uniforms.
That's very true. Their black jerseys are some of my favorites. I love the purple ones as well. But I think Luka's going to do what he can, or do a pretty decent job with this team, because he likes to pass the ball and he likes using the speed wide receivers. So Rashad Perriman is going to be about as fast as a receiver as we've seen him have. So it's going to be interesting to see how much he can overcome the roster, so to speak. Whether his style of play, which is pass all over the place, can fit this roster.
Now, they do have a pretty decent offensive line. They drafted the tackle Stanley in the first round. They probably would have taken Tunzel, the guy that went to Miami, if it wasn't for that mishap with that picture that came out on social media 10 minutes before the draft started. Excuse me. Marshall Yanda is always one of the best guards in the game. Do you guys know anything about a couple guys on this roster I didn't even look at in Madden? How does Kamar Aiken rate out in Madden? He's a 6'2 receiver. I know he's decent in real life. Any idea what his speed and catch look like in Madden?
I'm looking at the latest updated roster. He's 81 overall, 88 speed, 86 catch, 84 routes.
So he's reliable. I mean, he's not a game breaker, but he's a good underneath guy if you have Perriman over the top. And how does Max Williams rate out? I know Ben Watson's probably their one tight end, but Max Williams, the young tight end, you're probably most excited about.
Yeah, he's 80 speed. That's it, really. 84 catch.
Is Crockett Gilmore anything special?
No, he's slower than Max Williams.
Stokes, you're not helping here.
I'm sorry.
I am out of ideas.
Let's see.
You mean for the Ravens?
As far as guys who would maybe jump off the pages, excite you. And Ladarius Webb is now listed as a safety as far as what I'm looking at, and I believe that's also reflected in Madden. So,
look, if I'm Luka, I'm looking to take a guy like Brashad Perriman and just get as much as I can for him in the way of picks and pieces, and then draft well. That would be my plan if I had the Ravens, but he may just want to throw it deep, so I don't know.
Well, Luka knows he has 2 games a year against Magic where he can probably boost up Perriman's stats quite a bit. And I don't know. Luka did some serious work with the receivers in Indy, and Perriman is better than all of those guys, if you ask me. I mean, I know Nelson and Hilton and Dorsett are legit, but none of them come with the size that Perriman has along with the speed. So, I don't know. I think Luka has some work ahead of him, but we know right now one of his division rivals is Magic, so the work may not be... It might be a situation where Luka lands in a division where it doesn't have to be the best team from year one, but he's in a division where he can make the playoffs every year and just work on being a GM and build that team up. Cincinnati goes to T-Mag. And guys, I made an executive decision now because in PS4 we call him T-Mag and in AFL we call him Pick 6. I'm just going to unify it. I'm going to start calling him T-Mag. Makes it easier. I kind of like it. He hasn't gone by Pick 6 since way back in the AFL days. So to me, he's T-Mag. And we're going to talk about his Bengals, gets his real-life team. Off the top of my head, if I try to remember all the trades he made, oh my God. He traded with Nino. And then he traded with Westside Charles, and then he traded with Bailey, and somehow he wound up in Cincinnati. And
he figured it out, didn't he?
He did. And the thing about the Bengals is I came into this process thinking that the Bengals had kind of slipped a little bit because, they lost Sanu and Jones this offseason. They lost their right tackle, Andre Smith. Not super-duper household names. They lost Reggie Nelson. I was thinking, man, they lost some talent, but you look at that roster, and they have some of the names aren't going to come to my mind right now, but they still have the studs we know about: AJ Green, Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson. Andy Dalton, to me, is a very good quarterback. He's kind of to me, he's kind of like the newer version of Tony Romo, where he's a good quarterback, but he just makes some pretty bad mistakes in big spots, and people think of him as a joke. But the fact that he gets to those big spots probably indicates that he's not really a joke. AJ Green is a beast in Madden. Some of the guys I also like on that team, they have some safeties on that team with size and speed. But William Jackson III, their first-round pick, I know, Stokes, you're not going to like the fact that I used a hidden gem on a first-round player. But a lot of guys may not know, this guy has size and speed. He's going to rate out, in my opinion, in the 93, 94 speed range. He's a first-round pick, so you could expect to have more than just average development. And that's a stud to pair next to Denard, who they drafted a couple years ago. I like that secondary in Cincinnati, despite the fact that Pac-Man Jones doesn't have anywhere near the elite speed he used to have, and they lost Reggie Nelson. What do you think about this team, Stokes?
I like them. If they're there at 19, they would probably be a consideration for me. Or I'm talking about the PS4, and they've got really good players. Dino Atkins, I like him as well. I mean, in the offense, I may. If this was me, I would end up trading AJ Green, but because you can get a great deal for a guy like that. But I think this team is ready to win now, so I think that this is going to be good for T-Mag or Pick. I'm probably going to keep calling him Pick. Anyways, I think he's going to have difficulty trading his guys. I know he likes to trade, but I think because he wants this season of AFL to be big for him, I think he might end up holding on to his players rather than trading.
They got a guy on their roster who they got in the 4th round of the draft who a lot of people thought could go in the 1st round, defensive tackle out of Baylor named Andrew Billings. You don't see a lot of rookies come in with any kind of 99 attributes, but if there was ever a guy that deserved to be 99 strength, that would be him, and that's a very important position for a defensive tackle. He could be a guy to watch on that roster if Pick decides to maybe try to move a Geno Atkins and, acquire more. I just called him Pick again, but, acquire some draft picks that way. So something to think about there. It'll be interesting to see how his running backs Hill and Bernard rate out, because you would think that they're both young, they both have starter capabilities. Maybe he messes around with the game for a week, decides on one to be his guy, and ships the other one out for some other assets. That would be something I would consider. They picked up Brandon LaFell this offseason, nothing to be too excited about. Tyler Boyd is a possession receiver they drafted, so it really is the A.J. Green, Tyler Eifert show as far as weapons, and then the combination of Hill and Bernard out of the backfield. And I don't know, do you have the Bengals up on Madden? Does A.J. McCarron have anything that would interest somebody that has an old quarterback? Does he have any kind of starter capabilities?
He is 76 overall. He does not have high throw power.
Yeah, he's like 84 or something like that.
84 really? Throw power, and he's got 80s, short 80s, mid. He's not a guy you're going to trade for and try to build around.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything after the 84 throw power, to be honest with you. Solid backup, I guess. If Dalton goes down, you figure McCarron can get you through a game or two. So, all right, well, that's a look at the Bengals roster, and if you have been crossing names off your list, you could probably figure out who's in Cleveland at this point, but let's just get it out of the way. Lad Russo goes to Cleveland, and guys, when I was doing the best players for Cleveland, I was at work today, and I was trying to come up with 3, and I totally forgot about Corey Coleman for a second, and I actually had written in there 2 first-round draft picks. That's how bad it was. And then I was like, oh, wait, they did draft the stud receiver.
Corey Coleman.
He looks
Baylor.
good. Yeah, well, they have an entire Baylor offense now with Corey Coleman, Gordon, and RG3.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the hidden gem's a little controversial here. I put Josh Gordon down there, and here's why I did that. He's been off for 2 years. I think a lot of people just forget he's even a thing. And he's back. And I don't know what kind of ratings he's going to get, but he's a guy that if you've picked Cleveland, you may have actually forgotten about at this point. So it may not be fair. Maybe somebody like Berkavius Mingo would make more sense there. But I thought Josh Gordon was an interesting hidden gem because he's a guy that at one point in time, guys, was considered one of the best young receivers in the game. I don't think his ratings are going to bear out to that, but on the opposite side of Corey Coleman could be a guy that at least gives Ladd some options. Joe Hayden is a shell of himself as far as his end-of-season ratings goes, but he's still a decent cornerback. But the problem with Joe Hayden now is when he loses that elite man in zone coverage, then his speed gets exposed. Duke Johnson's a solid running back. There's nothing really special about him. He has plus 90 speed, but there's stuff to work with here, and you have to mention the fact they have 2 first-round picks. Who did they get the picks from? Philadelphia?
I do not know.
I believe it was Philadelphia because the Rams and Titans made the trade. So if you think about it from Lad Russo's perspective, he has his first-round pick, which probably will be high, and then he has JT's first-round pick, so we'll see how that works out for him.
Is this our only division that has all 4 players who play laying down?
Well, I don't know. Magic definitely plays laying down. I think Ladd might play laying down with his eyes closed. Pick definitely. We haven't had Pick on the show, but I picture him as a guy that actually stands up. That's just Pick. Let us know in chat if you're a guy that stands up. That's my guess.
No, he lays down with his Pokeball and.
He walks around playing Pokemon Go while he's playing, and then Luka already confirmed that he sits down unless it's a big play.
So who's going to win this division?
I would say early on, and maybe for the duration of Madden 17, it'll be a nice little battle between Luka and Pick 6, and roster-wise, I would give the edge to Pick 6 early on. We'll see if Luka can play the catch-up game roster-wise. But those head-to-head games between the Ravens and Bengals will be very important because, guys, I think just let's go ahead and we know what the division looks like. Let's go ahead and take a look now at what AFL looks like. When you look at the AFC, it's hard to imagine T-Mag. Sorry, Danny. It's hard to imagine more than one guy coming out of this division.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
Not happening is the other way to put it.
Yeah, there will not be two people coming out of this division.
Yeah, when you consider the rest of the landscape in the AFC, I would put the chances at between 0 and 0.5%.
Well, let me say this. So, yeah, if you lined them up and power ranked the AFC owners, Stokes, Nino, and Danny would probably be in the top 5. I mean, Stokes, Nino, 1, 2, no doubt. Danny would probably be, 4, whatever. But
Joker.
Danny's got to play Stokes twice and Nino twice. I mean, so realistically, one of those three guys could go 0-4 in the division, and nobody would be surprised about it. Conversely, T-Mag and Luka could go 4-0 outside of, the division. I'm not counting the Roman game. And then, they might have 4 built-in wins where someone like Danny might have 4 built-in losses if he has a bad season. So it is an advantage where, yeah, Danny might be a better player, but a 4-game lead is a 4-game lead.
It's true, but again, these things oftentimes have a way of bearing themselves out. And I just don't see Danny. I mean, it could happen, right? Anything can happen. But I highly doubt that you're going to see Luka and T-Mag with 11-plus wins each.
Joker just said something interesting, and I want to see if it's true. He said you could argue the top 8 players in the AFC are in 2 divisions. So, Stokes, Nino, Danny, yes. Cheese, Cody, SJR, Joker, yes. But
he meant 7.
Yeah,
I don't most definitely meant 7.
The thing is, though, I don't think it's laughable to say that Roman is equal to Luka and T-Mag.
Or RVD.
If it was one game, I'd take RVD over Roman. If it was one game.
Yeah.
But no, he said it. But it is arguable. Mm-hmm. I mean, like just the fact that we're going back right now and going, well, not so sure. I mean, Joker's right. It's arguable that the top 8 are in 2 divisions.
If you take Roman out of New England and say put him in Jacksonville, who would you? We would be talking right now about Roman as a likely candidate to win the AFC South. Like, what happens when he goes head to head with RVD or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I can see that.
You can't do that for the NFC though.
No, the NFC is definitely more spread out. You have JD, KJ, Josh Bailey, Edub Prime, and that's it. Because
you know what's neat about this though? That's pretty. You know what's neat about the AFC though is you're going to get a lot of interest because you've got some guys that are. I mean, Danny, Nino, Stokes, Cheese, Cody. These guys aren't going anywhere, right? But these other guys that don't always have a chance to win, they're going to be in the playoffs now, right? I mean, somebody's going to make it, and I think it's going to give them the opportunity to kind of get a little better or showcase their skills in the playoffs.
Crash the party.
I didn't mean to leave out Hitman and Roman and even Cheese Jr. Those guys and Reese. I mean, there's talent that's deep in the NFC. And as far as Costa, Trump, and Vane go, we get it. Those guys are decent. Vane actually, I think, is very underrated because of the fact that people give him a lot of shit for, he has kind of a flaky personality at times, but he's a guy that made a few deep playoff runs. He beat Stokes in the playoffs. He beat me in the playoffs. He beat E-Dub in the playoffs. He won his division pretty much every year in AFL 16 when he didn't go away for a long period of time. So I don't think Vane's a pushover, especially with the Seahawks. Costa's a guy that always hovers around 8-8, plays good against good players, and he has a great roster, and he finally made the playoffs last year. And Trump's kind of the same way, where Trump usually makes the playoffs once or twice every Madden. And, everybody in that division, and like JD said, everybody in that division feels like they have a chance. Now, if you put someone like Trump in a division with, JD and KJ, well, then he might be a little more discouraged. But in that division, I think it's going to be a lot of fun for those guys.
Didn't Vane pretty much own Reese for the entire Madden 16?
Yeah, up until the very end of Restart. Reese got his revenge on Vane and T-Mag. And let him know about it. But yeah,
I think there will be a lot of intrigue in that division. So, if either Vane or Costa come out of there in the playoffs, you wouldn't. They probably wouldn't be in heavy an underdog against JD or KJ, or maybe they would. but that they'd be at home, so that's going to be a plus for them if home field advantage is any sort of thing, or if anyone believes in that type of thing. So, I mean, they'll have a good team, and in the one game situation, the things can happen.
Yeah,
I think Costa's a guy to watch this year, and I'm not even saying that facetiously because I know he said it on Facebook, and a lot of guys maybe rolled their eyes, but he is a good player, and when he has a good team to work with, he could be very dangerous. And he's got a good position now where he's in a division where I think he might even be the favorite going in. And I think you have two of the best GMs in the league in that division, in Costa and Trump. I'm very anxious to see how these teams evolve. I'm very, very anxious to see what Trump does with the Rams because they have a lot of young talent. But is he going to ship out guys like Donald and Quinn just to load up on speed? Or
he absolutely will. If we know anything about Trump, is that he's going to trade everything he's got for speed.
Send them to Atlanta.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Flip has that Niners roster looking, workable, decent by season 2 or 3. He's an underrated GM as well. Flip is a guy that's going to go in. He will trade anybody, and he's going to try to get young and fast, and that's his entire goal there. So if there's anybody on the Niners you want, he's not opposed to trading them. He's going to he'll trade someone like Eric Reed, who everybody's like, oh man, I want that guy, but Flip's going to want 2 or 3 starters in return, and all of a sudden you're going to look up and that Niners roster is going to be a little bit more solid. So it's going to be fun to watch. I'm enjoying. I think for as much as people say there's not a lot of balance, I think there actually is more balance because everybody, in my opinion, maybe with the exception of Roman, but everybody in AFL, as I'm looking at this screen, comes into this season thinking they have a very realistic chance of winning their division.
That's true.
And that's fun. And everybody also knows that if they don't win their division, they probably are fighting an uphill battle to go to the playoffs because there's just so much competition throughout.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how tough Roman is, as the weeks and the seasons go by, and he takes all those L's. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch his meltdowns. And
well, we can always get him in a little group session with Magic, and he can tell him how he handles it. Like a therapy. We could set up a little call with Ladd and Magic and Roman, and they can,
Oh, Ladd.
Stokes, I feel like we should lab up our guy Magic and try to get him to run this division.
Man, we should. I don't think he cares enough to want to lab though.
No.
I don't think he's gonna care enough to want to be good.
Well,
that's sad.
He wants to lob it downfield. He's got 2 good receivers to do it with. But, I think that's the way, going back to the whole, everybody has a chance to win their division, I think that's the way it should be to make it fun. Because, we've all, as guys who are perennially better players, we've all been in situations in leagues where you go into a season, you're going to win your division, and you're pretty much just kind of watching the rest of the races, you're kind of positioning for playoffs, your division games are just whatever, and you don't even get up for them. And really, that's not the way it should be. It should be, Stokes, you go into your division games, and those are the most important games on your schedule. And those are the games that if you win, you could get a bye. And if you lose, you may not even make the playoffs. And that's what makes football fun. And the fact that we've got 8 divisions that I think are anybody's division is going to make it fun. Now, I posed this question on Facebook. I'll see what you guys think. If you had to bet $100 or whatever is considered a significant amount of money that you wouldn't want to lose, and the challenge was name one player who's going to win his division year 1. If he wins his division, you get your money. If he doesn't win his division, you don't. Who's the safest bet to win his division year 1?
Go ahead, Diddy.
I'm looking right now. Hold on.
I can tell you who the popular ones were on Facebook if that would help you.
Well, let me. I've narrowed it down to 2.
I got 2 picks. Go ahead.
Actually, you know what? And this might shock you, but I would say RVD.
That doesn't shock me. I like that one. I think he probably has the best roster, and he might be the best player.
And if I had to choose a second one, I would choose Edub.
Yeah.
Well, my 2 are. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to comment on JD's. Edub's a guy that is just always good at Madden. I mean, and he's a guy that always starts off super strong. because he just knows how to play Madden. His concepts, his offensive strategies, his passing game always carry over because he's not using money routes. He's just using concepts that he's been using probably since Madden 06. So, yeah, he's a handful. And with his Giants, he knows exactly what to do and how to get that roster the way he wants it. Go ahead, Stokes.
My first one, I think I'd put my money on Cheese because I think that defense is going to be suffocating. And I think if I had to pick the second best player in the division, I would pick Joker. And I think the difference in roster is going to play a big role in the fact that Cheese's roster is much better, and that's going to make an uphill battle when they play each other. And the other would be the Buffalo Bills winning the East. I'm not. That's an unbiased opinion.
Doesn't sound like it.
I put my $100 on that. Easy.
I like the Cheese pick a lot. I think Cheese is a guy that, just like Edub, is a guy that just knows how to play Madden. And maybe as the year goes on, maybe he falls back a little bit because despite his name being Cheese, he doesn't really lean on the OP stuff. He just plays the way he's always played. And I think a lot of guys realize that he was a guy that always was elite at user catching. And when they made user catching elementary this past year, where all you have to do is throw it up and hold triangle, like that really neutralized him. And I think he's going to get his game back. But I like that pick a lot because SJR historically is a slow starter. Takes him a couple seasons because, first of all, he's going to go in there and trade his whole damn team. And he's going to, team chemistry, whatever. He's going to try to rebuild that team the way he wants it. And there's going to be a lot of turnover. By season 2 or 3, SJR usually makes a deep playoff run. Cody's just solid, but I think Cheese is probably a little better. And then Joker just has an uphill climb with that roster. I think Joker might have to go the SJR route where he's just moving guys in and out every week. So I like the Cheese pick.
It really depends to me on how well Cheese Jr. plays the game. Because I think he could give you a run for the money if he's able to get all his games in. He doesn't have to go away for a baseball or anything like that. So I think if he's not as good as we think his potential dictates, I think you could run away with that North as well.
And with Bailey?
Yes, with Bailey. Yes.
Well, okay. Let's go to chat and get some reactions. We are in PS4 chat, by the way, in case guys are confused. We haven't recreated an AFL chat or anything. Let's see. Danny says Joker. Joker says Edub. Lucas says Joker. Nino says RVD, and then we scroll down a little bit, and Nino made actually a list, and his list of 1 to 8. God, Nino is such a nerd. 1 to 8. RVD, Edub, KJ, Josh, Joker, Luca, Vane, Stokes.
Where's this list at?
It's in PS4 chat.
I'm in there. I missed it.
Hitman says Josh. Then guys started making fun of us for picking Cheese. Let's see. T-Mag says Josh. Danny says Joker. Then Danny says Josh makes sense.
Nino absolutely loves to hate on me.
Josh versus Bailey in the North. Tony says T-Mag. So, I think the fact that we're getting so many different answers just goes to, there's not even one that's super easy. By the way, if Skype is accurate, happy birthday to Swag. It just popped up in Skype that it's his birthday today. So, happy birthday to Swag. He's not a guy I would pick. Edub would be the one that stands out to me, I think. But, Prime and Hitman, again, solid, super solid. And they got their teams. So, a lot of guys are thinking KJ. I can't go there because, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the phone, JD, but I think you're a guy that is just really good at Madden. And those are the guys that, to me, dominate early. But I also think, unlike some of the guys that are just naturally good at Madden, I think you also evolve with the game as it goes on. And KJ, to me, may not be the fastest starter, but then again, he made the Super Bowl last year in the first year, so that's going to be fun. I wouldn't say either one of you are lock enough that I put $100 on it. I want to say Costa.
But Vane.
I know.
It's weird that you would pick Costa knowing that he just made the playoffs for the first time just this past year.
Yeah. I know.
Here's the thing. Like, I would be inclined to say Joker as well, but the disparity in the roster, Stokes, to your point. That Denver roster is just going to give them problems. I think that Edub has been better for a longer time than Prime, and Stokes and Nino are going to battle. How do you know who's going to do? I mean, Luca and T-Mag. What's that?
I know who's going to win.
Well, I would lean towards Stokes year one because I think the roster's better, and I don't know. Nino, when the game drops, though, just plays the shit out of the game. I mean, it used to be back in the day. I don't know if he does this or not, but he used to, like, when the game would drop, he would just play ranked nonstop until he was number one on the leaderboard. So,
yeah, he'd put in 50 games in the first couple days.
So, I mean, that's a guy that you expect.
But when you look at that, the South, the AFC South, I mean, Sham, Stang could challenge RVD, but Stang could also not even care.
I don't know if Sting doesn't care. What you have in the AFC South is you have 4 guys who are never going to lab, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, to me, when I say that, like, you have to think about it in the context of what labbing is. Labbing is like putting in more work than just your games. But RVD and Sham, and Sham's the punchline because he plays the defensive line, but I think Sham is actually a very underrated passer on offense. And what he and RVD do is they run stuff that is not OP, not trendy. They just run their own stuff, and they can be a challenge to slow down because, like last year, everybody ran the flood. So by March, we all had flood defense. But then you go play Sham, and he's running all these different route combos that you never see. And I'm just like, well, what do I do here? I haven't seen this combination. And RVD does the same thing. I think RVD is a little bit better on defense than Sham. But the reason I'm hesitant to say RVD, it's not even so much Sting. I think it's Sham. I think Sham could push RVD. My number one pick would be T-Mag. I've been thinking about it. I love his roster, and I think he's going to have the edge over Luka because of the fact that he has
the roster. Yeah, it's true.
Man.
And I think Josh, you're going to have an edge over Bailey because of the roster too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a division rival with Bailey. It's always worked out where we've been on different sides of the coin. So,
but if you guys say that, I mean, think about it. I'm going to have, and KJ's a great player. He's tough for me to deal with, but I'm going to have a huge advantage over him in the roster.
Yeah, you are. I mean, to me, the Saints are actually better year one than I think they're going to be like year 2, year 3 because you still have the elite quarterback. But didn't Matt Ryan have like one of the best deep accuracies in the game last year?
Yeah, 80.
So now that they're putting it back in, he might approach 90. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. And you know how to use those Falcons. There's something to be said about knowing the roster top to bottom, who you can trade, who can be expendable, and all that stuff. And then who knows? Reese is a guy that could come out swinging. It's not going to be for lack of effort, that's for sure.
Oh, he's going to come out swinging. Will he hit anything is the question. Just kidding, Reese.
Yeah, so T-Mag would be my number one pick. My pick. Nailed it. Good night, everybody. Oh, man. I want to say, and Costa would be my my second one that would be, I know a lot of people would be like, oh, why Costa? But I'm telling you, when we do our division prediction show in a few weeks, putting my money on the Cardinals.
I guess it's as good a pick as any, I suppose.
You know what it is about Costa is I think it's because he and I play a very similar style. Like, he's a defensive guy who wants to run the ball and just take his shots offensively when the box is stacked. And so when I see the Cardinals and I see the moves that I think he's going to try to make, it just lines up in my head that this is going to be a great fit for him.
I completely understand what you're saying. And if I had my feet to the fire, I probably would have to pick Costa over Vane because I just don't know about Vane from game to game. So I think Costa is probably more consistent defensively than Vane. But it would really be a toss up for me.
Yep. So there we have it. There's our 32 teams. And it was fun, guys. This was a fun process. Looking back, I definitely didn't expect to have this many trades based on the list. It may have been different had we, just released all 32 teams at once, but what fun is that? So, Stokes, what are your thoughts on the request from guys that we reveal what the teams would look like if there were no trades?
That's a very sticky situation because, if we release all the divisions, or release how the list would have been without any trades, and people will be upset because well, I could have been on this team if it wasn't for someone else who made a trade. So it's not their fault. So I don't really know how would we go about that, because I'd much rather avoid the controversy, so to speak.
Yeah, because there are situations where elite owner A gets his number one team, and then random owner B trades with another owner, and it shifts an elite player from one conference to the next. So all of a sudden, this other guy who had his number one team, who didn't do anything as far as trading, has to go down to his second or third team just to balance things out. And, I think maybe guys would be upset about that, but it is what it is. What? I am not Hillary Clinton. I take offense to that. I'm definitely more like Trump.
More like Trump.
I'm the best.
Iron fist.
I'm the best. Believe me, I'm the best.
I like this process. I was certainly surprised at how much money was spent considering the lists, and I fully expected there to be maybe a couple of trades, but with how many different trades were made with the list, that was completely surprising, especially when considering how much was spent. But I do like the way the league is looking. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of intrigue with each division, and as we just spent a few minutes talking about, it's going to be wide open, and I'm very excited for that.
Joshery McClinton. I like it, Tony. Kind of rolls off the tongue. All right, guys, before we get out of here, just any final thoughts, any one rivalry that jumps off the page to you that you're looking forward to season one? Obviously, leave your own rivalries out because that's not fun for anybody, and let's leave the three guys on the show. Let's leave our rivalries out too, because we could all just talk about each other and they'd be bored. So I can even go first if you guys want to sit there and think about it. I'm intrigued by Cheese versus Joker. And I'm also going to throw versus Cody versus SJR, because to me I'm totally intrigued by the AFC West, and I can't even pinpoint two owners in particular. Maybe Cheese and Joker pop out a little bit more, but RVD with the Raiders, Cody's always competitive. I am just fascinated to see who emerges from that group as the top dog year one.
I would say the NFC South, just the entire division. I think a lot of people sleep on Reese, and rightfully so. But he did actually make strides from his first year in NFL to his second year in NFL. So I think that if he continues that trajectory and closes some ground between KJ and JD, I think that's going to be very intriguing to me. And to go along with that, just the amount of trash that will be talked to these guys if he is to beat them once out of 7. So I'm excited for that entire division.
I mean, Cheese lost a playoff game to Reese early in 2016 and never lost to Reese again. But anytime you bring up Cheese to Reese,
yeah, man,
Reese has one memory of that rivalry, and it's the game that he won.
So, that's what's so great about him.
I love Reese. I think he gets under people's skins, but I think he is great for the league.
Yes,
because I think he's also a pretty elite troll too. Like, he knows how to get you upset.
I think some great arguments and great fests could come out of the NFC West. I think Costa and Trump, man. Trump seemed like today he was fired up, man. He seems like he's back. I mean, if Trump really comes back, I know he had to start a business and all this kind of stuff. If he comes back and he's talking trash like he was today, and Costa likes to argue and Vane likes to get on everybody's nerves, that could be fantastic.
It's going to be different because Costa and Trump were roommates for a long time, so I mean that adds a different dynamic to the potential trash talk between those two.
Yeah, I mean they're not sleeping together anymore and stuff like that, so it's good.
Yeah, they broke up but decided to remain friends. I think
that always works out.
Especially if Vane has early success, I could see it getting heated between Costa and Vane, especially Costa and Flip. I mean, they go back a long way. They're always taking jabs at each other. Costa likes to argue with people. As I'm going through this division, Costa and Trump, Costa Flip, Costa Vane. What's the one common denominator there? But yeah, that could be a lot of fun. There's nothing really in the NFC East that really stands out as fest worthy. I could see more so maybe later in the year where like after 6 or 7 times that E-Dub and Prime play each other, that maybe like there's gonna be a heated moment after one of those games. I could see a bunch of good game man first couple years. By about season 3 or season 4, one of those two are gonna explode.
Yeah. When E-Dub goes back and calculates the number of times he run cover 3 and decides it doesn't pass his eyeball test.
Oh my! Do you play him this year?
I don't know.
Oh man!
Giants versus Falcons this year? No, because the last year the South played the East. So yeah, because the Falcons
did they finish in the same?
Beat all 4. Yeah.
Could play him in the conference title game.
Hey.
Now, if Flip has anything to say about it, you won't.
Don't sing it, bring it.
All right, guys. Well, this was fun. This is the layout for Madden 17. We'll see you in a few weeks. Probably about a week before Madden drops, we'll have our division preview show, and I'm sure we'll have a couple more trades to talk about. Maybe not, though. I don't know. I don't see any real potential trade moves at this point. I think everybody's pretty set in their spot. Maybe Flip hops out of San Francisco if somebody can entice him with enough money, but who's going to pay to go to the 49ers? I really can't see that happening. So, guys, it was fun. These are the 32 teams, and now all we need is Madden to drop. So, until the next time, we'll see you later, AFL.
Well, we got a couple other things coming up.
You want to talk about that? You want to tease that, or you want to just leave it as a...
No, just there's a couple more things coming up soon.
We still have the history show, which I will be revealing one tonight, pretty much right after the podcast. It will be Thursday's history show. So what I'll do is I'll upload 2. I'll upload a Thursday one and a Friday one. I know I owe you guys those. And Stokes has a surprise for you guys coming up too that I think you guys are going to get a kick out of. So got some things cooking. And we'll talk to you next time, AFL.